Welcome to the Empty Nester Life podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are coming at you again every week on Saturday mornings. We're glad that you're joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This makes it a lot of fun, and we really appreciate hearing from all of you. Loving the comments and the connections, both online and offline. So today...
Big change. Yeah. We're in our little podcast bedroom.
Well, and honestly, as we were setting this up, I was like, I know what we need to do. So don't be surprised if you only get a few episodes in this little podcast area and then we move it again.
Yeah, so there's a big room that she has her office in that has a TV in it. She's like, why don't we just put our podcast room in there? Because all the equipment needs to be there, because she does a lot of live stuff, streaming stuff, Zoom stuff. And I'm like, oh, that could be cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm up for it. We'll see. We'll see if it works.
Well, and that room has better natural light. And anyway, whatever. We won't bore you. We won't bore you with the semantics.
New bedroom.
But we are set up here for now. And so usually what we like to do is at least record, 3 or 4 episodes and before we break everything down. So we'll do that.
I think that's wise. Let's do that. Let's go. But we're just glad that you're here.
Yeah.
You see a different setting, and that's why I even mention it.
Yes, and it's the obvious elephant in the room, so it does need to be addressed. Wouldn't that be funny if we just pretended nothing was different?
What changed?
Nothing.
Well, I could see us doing that, actually.
I could too.
Clueless.
So, good job. Good job. Give me an echo. That was good job.
There you go.
Okay, so today we have a really fun topic, we think.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's one that we're really passionate about, because what we're talking about is downsizing. Looking at when it's time to downsize, what do you need to consider? And we're bringing our perspective not just as empty nesters, but also as realtors.
Yeah, combined over 50 years of real estate experience in various parts of real estate. And so we have a little bit of a perspective. But being empty nesters, you're faced with it. Mm-hmm. And this is just a reality of life. Eventually, you're going to be empty nesters, hopefully. Hopefully the kids just don't come and stay forever. But
it could happen. And if that's
get some boomerang kids.
We're not going to judge.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But as empty nesters, you've got an empty nest. So chances are you've got a domicile, also known as a house, a home, that maybe is a little outsized for you, or maybe it doesn't fit your needs now. Maybe it's not outsized. Maybe it just doesn't fit your needs right now.
Exactly. So before we go any further, I do have to take care of some, let's just call it the legalese that we need to do as realtors. Because this is not on a actual dedicated real estate site, we have to disclose to you that we are both licensed realtors with Realty One Group Mountain Desert in northern Arizona. And Mark is an associate broker. I am a realtor. We both have various degrees of designations and experience and all that fun stuff. But I will post a link below. It will be the first link you see as to our real estate site and where you can find out more about our license, because I have to do that so we don't lose our license or get fined. So thanks for bearing with me.
Don't want to get fined.
No, we don't really like to get
Giving
fined.
away money is never fun. It's like getting a speeding ticket. Dang. How much? What do you want for that? Yeah.
Yep. So thanks for bearing with us through that. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about our topic.
All right. Why don't you kick it off?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, obviously, we're going to come at this today with a little bit of an unique perspective, because we do wear both the real estate and the empty nester hat.
True.
And we've actually, both between the two of us, we've helped a lot of people downsize when their nest gets to be empty.
We're going to come at it with both hats as realtors and empty nesters, and realizing now, kind of point number 2 is that there's an emotional side to this whole thing. It's not just numbers. It's not just okay, let's work like a, I'm going to say engineer, very analytical. There's analytics to it, but there's a real emotional side to it. There's a logical side, but there's an emotional side to downsizing. Not even as an empty nester, but anybody who's downsizing, there's got to be a reason, but there's that emotional component that you can't skip.
I agree, and I'm glad you brought that up because, I think that when you're looking at the option of downsizing as an empty nester, you're not just thinking about switching domiciles. You're also thinking about all the memories that are in that house,
Yeah.
and what if the kids want to come back, and how are the kids going to feel about it? And I think we put a lot of weight onto that. So let's talk about a few of those things, Mark. So let's wait before we jump into that. I do want to start out by saying Mark and I have not downsized. We are in the same house that we've been in for the last 9 years. And so the kids kind of grew up here. We would say they consider this their family home. But it's a conversation we've had a lot. Like, we're always assessing and reassessing. And so what are maybe some of the emotional perspectives that you feel when we talk about it?
Well, we were talking about it earlier today, just trying to kind of walking through the format and everything. I always felt like, the girls got sort of stabilized here in Flagstaff, and this is where they went through high school. They were early teens when we moved in here. And, high school is traumatic, especially, it seems like it's more traumatic now, but it's really a lot of ups and downs and that sort of thing. And this was a refuge, I think. And they could come to us, especially to mom here. They are definitely daughters that cling to mom, but in a good way, not in a clingy way, just kind of like really rely on mom, and mom gives a lot of great advice. And now and then dad gets to, weigh in. But I think that's the part of it too. I've said, if we got rid of this house, I feel like the girls would lose that connection. And, they're not married or anything. Obviously, if you've been following us, you know that Sophia did get engaged to Brody. And so that's super cool. And so I feel like maybe when they get married, maybe in the next year or two, and I think they probably both will be married in the next couple of years, that, then it won't be that big a deal. But I always felt like, we should probably hang here. I answer your question. We should probably hang here a little bit because the girls, they walk in the front door and I think they just feel like maybe family, home, that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm corny.
Well, honestly, I like that you have that perspective because you tend to be the more pragmatic one, whereas I tend to maybe weigh stuff like that a little bit more. In this particular situation, that's not the case. In this particular situation, when we were actually talking this out beforehand, I was like, really? That's a consideration? To me, it's not a reason why we've stayed here. To me, it's been like an added benefit as to why we stay here. Like, it's nice that they still have that, but that's not part of the decision making. So I found it really heartwarming that is part of your decision making. So definitely, if you've got that emotional perspective to your consideration, just understand that's 100% normal. And honestly, I think maybe it would be a little off if you didn't consider it.
I think kids are always the big anchor, to a certain extent, and they kind of anchor you to a house sometimes. You were talking about, how people walk into the former bedrooms of their kids and have this emotional thing that happens to them. And I'm like, okay, I can see that.
Yeah. It's really, it's very interesting in terms of some of the emotions that you might feel when you're considering it. And when I say if you don't consider it, it might be a little off, I don't mean that you put a lot of weight on it. I just mean if it doesn't even cross your mind to think about that, then maybe. But I will tell you, with my parents, when they finally downsized, it was because all three of us kids in one form or another had boomeranged. And I was the last one to boomerang back in there as a single mom. I had to move in with them for a couple of years. And so when I got back up on my feet and I took the girls, we moved into a little 3-bedroom apartment, felt like a palace after, that. But I think we were out of that house for about 5 seconds and they put it on the market and they downsized and they moved to a 55 plus community. They're like, you are not moving back in.
Did you have any, so emotionally you're okay with all that? Like, cause I'm just talking about the emotion of a parent, but how about the emotion of a kid? Like where you were like, okay, I get it.
So here I was in my mid 30s. I had 2 children of my own. And I had some feelings about it. I did.
See?
You know? And
it goes both ways.
It does go both ways. But I will say, while I had feelings about it in the moment, once my parents moved, they were so happy. The house fit them so well. And I think for them to be in that 55 plus community helped them make friends and connections that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So I was happy for them, and I was fine.
So there is an emotional element to this whole thing in terms of downsizing, knowing when you're ready, the kids are ready, maybe you have a discussion. I don't know what you do in your family. Most people talk, but some people don't. We tend to talk. But the other part is, and I like this little, what we added in here for the overall format, like, you know, it might just be you have so much stuff, you're going to have to get rid of some of your stuff before you even consider it. Like if you haven't parked your truck or your car inside your garage in the last 14 years, you might not be ready, right? If your living room...
Come on, give me your best Jeff Foxworthy.
If you mow your front lawn and you find a tractor, you might be a redneck. If you walk with your dad to third grade, you might be a redneck.
I know, but do it with the give us a Jeff Foxworthy, but with the empty nester spin on it.
If you're an empty nester and your kids are still wanting you to make them breakfast, you might be someone who needs to be an empty nester. I don't know. It's the top of my head.
No, I love that.
I remember seeing Jeff Foxworthy before he broke really, really big. And I can tell you, I was so tired from laughing.
Like your stomach hurt?
My jaws hurt. And I said, I can't listen for a while. Kidding. But yeah, I saw him at the Scottsdale Conference Center. A buddy of mine invited me over. You got to hear this guy's really funny. And he was.
Well, yes.
You might be a redneck.
Well, you may be an empty nester if you are thinking about downsizing.
Can you imagine that mowing your front lawn? Well, there's my John Deere. Been looking for that thing for a while.
But we digress. I'm sorry.
No,
don't be sorry.
Okay, so
I love that's part of what I love about you, sweetheart.
Oh, that's so nice.
I just hope that people watching love it too.
Okay. We'll see.
All right. So one of the points we have here is that obviously attachment to the family home can delay your decision, and it's okay. So you have to work through that. And so again, like Mark was saying, that sit down, have a conversation, talk it out. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I mean, we have seen, he's joking around about like if you haven't parked your truck in your garage for 14 years, but we've seen it.
We've seen it, dude. Like it's going to take a month of Sundays or a whole Sundays for a whole year to even just make a dent in some of these garages or some of these houses. I mean, the clutter's there. And here's the thing. It accumulates over 20, 30 years and you don't even notice it. Like Jackie, this thing behind us here, we had more stuff in here, way more stuff in here. She's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess.
She saw the shot and she said, oh, that's not good. It's probably too much stuff there.
Probably. But I mean, it is very true that especially when you're living in a family home, and a lot of times it gets, especially where garage and storage spaces and closets are concerned. I mean, when we move out of this house, we've got a storage space that is going to be very interesting to go through.
Well, it's radical. All of a sudden you get rid of that stuff. And I tell you what, you won't miss it because you don't remember it. Whenever we donate stuff, I don't miss it. I put it in the box and then it's gone. And you ever notice that? You don't even know what you donated because you didn't use it.
Yeah, you start going through things. You're like, oh my gosh, I forgot we had this or what have you. But I do think that's a really great first step that if you are considering downsizing, whether you're to the extreme where you have, you can't step foot in your garage because of all the storage stuff, or you're just, just stuff that accumulates. I think that's the first place to start going through things, and you have to take a super critical eye at getting rid of this stuff.
Yeah, if you clear out your garage and you find your Harley Davidson that you've been missing for about 4 years, you might need to downsize.
I think
I did that without the Foxworthy inflection.
But you were fighting it.
I wanted to do it.
100% you
I
were
was
fighting that.
filtering. I says, oh, maybe I won't do the Foxworthy inflection. But it's true.
Oh my gosh.
It is so true.
You're making me laugh too hard.
It's
It's making
true.
me cough.
Okay. Oh, no.
This
no.
is why our marriage works. He
Here it
has a
comes.
good audience in me.
And then I'm like, oh, what else? I got?
No, and so I apologize in advance.
Okay.
Okay. So
Get us back on track.
let's get back on track. So let's talk about, there's a lot of emotions there, but what's the motivation? So let's talk about
Overall.
what's your overall motivation that you may actually be looking at to consider downsizing? First and foremost, it's the reason you don't want to sell. Now it's the reason you do
Right.
is to be closer to family.
It totally is. I mean, like let's say you're in Arizona and your family's all back in North Carolina. And you're getting up there in years. You'd like to spend some time with the grandkids. You got grandkids popping up. You got cousins because you're from North Carolina and you're ready to roll back to North Carolina. That's a great reason to downsize in another state.
Absolutely true. And I will say too, it could even just be within your same area. And I do want to say grandkids do tend to be the grand motivator.
Yeah, we're not going to get that. I mean, I know Sophia and Brody are going to have kids. We're not going to get that far away.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, as long as they're out doing their thing as adults, they don't it's lovely to see them, but they don't need us the way they did. I 100% can see myself being the grandma that once we get a grandbaby, I'm going to be like, oh, I want to be there. I want to be involved.
She's going to quit everything.
I want to be, and I know Sophia's already told me, she's like, yeah,
I'm going to need
in.
you.
She's like, I'm in because I'm going to want rest and I'm going to want space and Brody and I are going to want date nights. And I'm like, me. I want to take care of it.
Nobody loves babies more than this lady right here. Loves babies.
I do.
Loses her mind.
Well.
I think we may have to see somebody about that.
It's not to love.
Professional. Okay. So there it is, family. And number 2 is walkability. Yeah, it's a big term now in real estate. I think it started happening around 15, 20 years ago. And this is kind of that move to the urban area. You may want to move outside of the urban area, but a lot of people want to be close into town where they're maybe walking to the grocery store, walking to the park. Maybe you lived in the suburbs because you got the kids, but now you want to live a more urban lifestyle.
And I think there's a lot to that where, when you're living that suburban lifestyle because the kids have all the things and you want the swing sets in the backyard and all the friends to come over and hang out. And now you don't have that motivator anymore. So yeah, you do want to be closer to all the things and drive less and walk more.
And maybe meet more people.
Yeah.
Because the kids are gone now, you got more social time. Mm-hmm. So that's something to definitely consider, the walkability. I mean, we kind of, I don't know why. Well, I know why she does, because she lived in downtown Chicago. I've never lived in downtown Chicago or anything like that. I grew up on a farm. But we kind of both like the urban thing because we like the buzz of it all. Mm-hmm. We like the buzz. I don't know why, but we do.
We really do.
I don't know what it is.
And it's kind of funny, too, because we like, I think us personally, we like to be close to that, but we don't necessarily want to live on top of that. Right. We want to be able to, so.
We like to observe.
We like to be close to it, though. Like, we love,
We do.
Yeah, we love it. Anyway, but that could be a really good consideration.
Consider it.
I mean, I will say when we bought our house in Rockport, that was a huge consideration because in Rockport, I really wanted a beach property, but a lot of the waterfront property was kind of remote. And
what was the name of that area there that was, I guess that would have been Key Allegro. No, not Key Allegro. That was right in that area, but it's farther out. I forget the name of it, but on the water, you could buy a house kind of relatively the same price that we had. They were maybe a little more, but we looked at it. I was like, dude, it's like from downtown Rockport, Fulton, it was like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it was really nice area, really cool. You could get a dock, have a dock, and I definitely would have figured out some sort of boat, I mean, that would have been something. But but it was too far away.
It was too far away.
Walkability was important. We literally wanted to walk out our front door and walk down and get a coffee, which we did.
Which we did all the time. We would walk and get a coffee.
It's a few blocks.
Walk to get a sandwich. Walk to get even sometimes to dinner and all that type of stuff. So that we really loved that. So anyway, that could be something that you're looking for in your downsizing. And the other motivator is the one that I think is kind of obvious is your financial.
Downsizing your finances, downsizing your overhead.
Mm-hmm. So if it's from a financial perspective, I mean, just because you're an empty nester doesn't mean you're retired, but it does mean you're getting close. And eventually that would be the goal for most. And so that's something to really look at is preparing yourself for that retirement opportunity.
Yeah. And we're going to go deeper into the financial part here a little later in the format, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. And here's some signs that it may be time. You're spending more to maintain than you're actually enjoying the home.
Yeah, I mean, if your house is getting to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, every Saturday and Sunday, all I'm doing is raking leaves, pulling weeds, painting this, fixing that, sometimes that kind of gets a little old.
So we've had some discussions about downsizing, and we've looked at some properties because that's kind of what we do, but we also dream. We've talked about that we kind of project our future and we dream and that sort of thing. So she loves donkeys. And she likes critters. And I grew up, with critters. And so I get the whole critter thing. I could take care of a horse, no problem. A donkey, I can take care of a cat, no problem. Chickens, no problem. I did all that. But she's like, well, we should do something like that. And I think to myself, every day. So we saw this property in Clarkdale.
I still dream about this property.
It's a nice illustration. So it was all self-sufficient, right? It was all solar. Was it a water hole? Or did it have a well? Had a well, but literally it was off grid. But it was right outside of Clarkdale, Arizona, Cottonwood, Arizona. It was crazy. Up on a hill, had like a half-mile long driveway. You get up there. It was in our range, that sort of thing. Really funky, but really cool. And the views were. These were $10 million views, not $1 million views.
They were, for the bargain price of under $1 million. It was really, I mean, and the house itself was designed by an architect where it was the house was a work of art. It wasn't just like 4 walls and a roof. The house was actually a work of art, which of course leads to some of it was a little quirky, functional obsolescence, that kind of thing. But quirky. It really was, I mean, and I felt so wonderful in that home.
She felt alive.
I felt alive.
And I thought to myself, this is going to be a nightmare because everything...
I felt alive, and he's going, this is going to kill me.
There was drip systems everywhere. They had a little chicken coop, chickens out there. There was all kinds of stuff going on, but I just like maintaining everything. It was on many, many acres. 16 acres or 11 acres. It was crazy. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to do. This is going to be my life. My life will be this place. This will be my life. I was like, I don't see the problem. It was very cool. I dug the long driveway and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The house didn't work, but the house was cool. It was very, very cool, but it didn't work.
It didn't work for us, for our needs. That is true. But we were dreaming. Why did we get off on that topic?
But you got to kiss the frogs,
Oh, yeah.
Before you can find
you have to be willing
the princess or the prince.
You have to be willing to dream about what is your new, downsizing
maintenance.
Is not.
This is about maintenance. Too much maintenance.
Yes. Thank you. Now you're the one who brought us. You took us off track, but you brought us back on, so that's okay.
Maintenance.
So another sign it might be time to downsize is that you're avoiding certain parts of the house because they might be just too much. And that could be from a maintenance perspective. You're like, I never even go in that room. I'm going to close the door because I don't want to look at it and I don't want to think about how I have to clean it. But it also could be from an emotional perspective. right?
I think so. Again, you talked about your friend didn't want to go into the back bedrooms because it reminded her that the kids were gone.
Yeah, so I mean, it can definitely be a thing where where it's like, okay, I don't want to look at these rooms, and if you don't have another use to repurpose that room into that makes sense, then that's a really good sign that it's time to downsize. Because otherwise, what's going to happen? You stay there, and you're either just going to shut the door and be done with it, or it's going to turn into a storage unit. Again, I truly believe that people with their stuff are like sharks in their environment. Like a shark will grow to the size of its environment. So if you have a huge environment where you can put a lot of stuff, you'll get a lot of stuff.
Even if you're free and clear on the house, you're still paying insurance and taxes on those rooms that you don't use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good point. And it's just one of those things. Now, if you can repurpose it, if you're one of these people who are like, oh my gosh, when my kids move out, I've always dreamed of having a craft room. So when little Susie moves out, I'm turning her bedroom into my craft room. Then by all means, that makes sense. But if that's not the case, then it's just wasted space.
And moving on to the next point, your house sometimes can just tie you down. Mm-hmm. You just feel like you can't leave it. It's not a lock and leave. It's not one of those houses that you really can walk away from. There's just too much going on, or you feel there's too much going on. And so it ties you down, and you don't get to go out and experience life like maybe you've dreamed of, or something you've always talked about with your spouse. Mm-hmm. It's the house, hon. I've got to be here, got to put the garbage out, whatever it might be. I don't know what it is holding you there, you. But there's just too much going on in that house, too much stuff, and it sort of ties you down. And I think that's a bad reason. Don't let a material thing tie you down.
Totally. If you're dreaming of traveling, but you're like, oh, we can't really afford it because our mortgage payment is too high because we've got this big house, or our maintenance bill. I mean, let's face it. Like you said, even if your house is free and clear, the bigger the house, the bigger the bills, the more electricity you're using, the more water you're using, the more, all of those things. And so by all means, it could be time to downsize. And we're not saying go extreme. We're like, I am going to sell off my 5,000 square foot house on 10 acres and we're moving into an RV and traveling the country. That's a little extreme. But maybe if that's your situation, we're going to sell this large house on large land, and maybe we're going to get ourselves a little townhouse or a condo that is a lock and leave. And now we're going to also take some of our profits, buy an RV, and go travel the country. By all means, that's what you should do.
All things to consider. Very good point. Very good point. And don't just keep the house because you think the kids are going to be visiting. Life happens, and don't blame it on them that they don't come and see you as much as you kind of anticipated. But you've hung on to the house now because the kids might visit. You know what? Sell the house, and when they come and visit, put them up in a Hampton Inn. You don't want them too comfortable, or a Motel 6 or something. Put them in something that's not too comfortable, so you don't have to shell out too much. But you'll actually save money, I think.
Honestly,
put them in a hotel, and they'll be happy.
No, there's something to that. I recently worked with people who were downsizing, and they purchased their home. And one of the things that they were considering, they literally went from 2,500, 2,600 square feet down to about 1,400 square feet. And one of the big considerations, though, as we're looking at houses to buy, is that some of those houses that were smaller had really small living spaces. And so for them, the consideration wasn't necessarily, the kids won't have a place to sleep or stay. The consideration was far more about being able to gather. So when everybody came over for Thanksgiving or what have you. And so we did. We found them a great house where everyone could gather, has a huge living space so that, there wasn't a lot of wasted space in little nooks and crannies and things like that.
Totally works.
So it works really well. And they still have space where they have places they can put people to sleep. But to your point, it's just not as comfortable as it was before. And it's working out great for them. So I definitely think that is something to consider. You can't hang on to a house with lots of bedroom space for that maybe they'll visit for, 3 days and we'll have plenty of space for them.
If you got 14 bedrooms that are sitting vacant, I'll guarantee you one thing. The kids will be back and they will be living with you. Kind of to your parents'
Then they're
point.
going to bring other people with them.
Not only did her parents moved away from Scottsdale, they moved into a community where she literally could not reside.
Yeah,
It was against the CC&Rs. That's foolproof. That's foolproof right there. There's a little tip for you.
I'm not sure I feel good about sharing that story now. When you put it that way.
It was not a coincidence.
No, in all fairness, that was something they were dreaming of anyway. And so
That's fine. Your parents,
yeah.
lovely. Lovely.
All right, so questions to ask before you sell.
All right.
Let's talk about this. Number one, can you realistically get what you want out of your home? Now, we got some things to say about that,
but I'm gonna let you start.
No, I want you to kick it off.
I don't care what you want for your house. It's what your house is worth.
Okay, the market dictates what your house is worth, and yesterday's market does not dictate what your house is worth. We all would love to say, oh, remember back in 2021 when people were literally outbidding, you would get 11 bids on a house and people were spending $100,000 to $200,000 more than the house was listed for? When you go to sell your house, you would love to be in that situation. Mm-hmm. We're not in that situation.
Yeah, and I should probably have said that with a little more empathy. I understand that you'd like to have $775,000 for your home, but that's not where the market is. What you want for your house isn't what you can ultimately get for your house. Was that better?
That was lovely. That was much.
Your needs don't necessarily line up with the marketplace as it is today.
That's right. I as realtors over the course of decades, I literally can't count how many people I've sat across from where they said, well, what we need to get out of the house is X, Y, and Z. And that's nice, but that's not real world. It like the marketplace who's going to buy your house really doesn't care about what you need from it. Now, it's always a good day when they say to me, what we need is X, Y, and Z, and I go, great, we can get that for you. In today's marketplace, that's a wonderful place to be. But sometimes we sit across from them and say, that's not realistic, and they literally decide to hold on to their house, and that's the best move in that situation. Mm-hmm. If that's the case and you need to kind of hold off and wait. But we do always like to encourage people to make sure you're looking at the entire picture. It is not just about purchase price. It's about number one, what you're going to net, and number two, what is your output on that home, and can you change your output by downsizing? I've
been doing this thing called real estate now since 91, 92. She's been doing it a long time
since
too.
2002, so I'm only 10 years behind.
I've seen cycles.
Yeah.
Real estate always cycles. Always.
It does.
If you want to see the cycle, just pull up Case Shiller or whatever, or something along those lines. Look at the last 50, 60 years. You're going to see a market that's going to do this. Okay. Now, it doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it looks like this, right? 2008, 9, 10, mm-hmm. And then 2012, it started to creep up, and then it came up again. And now we've been in a really nice market. But right now, nationally, you were saying that it's what kind of market? Nationally,
right now, there's about 10 months of inventory on the market, which is an extreme buyer's market. However, that being said, your local marketplace is what really matters.
Yes.
And even within the markets that we serve, different pockets have different realities.
Big time.
I was looking at different pockets in the northern Arizona. Some spaces in northern Arizona right now are at 6-7 months worth of inventory. But other neighborhoods and pockets are still at 2 to 3 months.
2 or 3.
Yeah. So you really need to look specifically at your marketplace, what's going on, work with an agent who knows your area. I mean, that's honestly the best advice we can give you there.
Do not try to go it alone. I know it maybe sounds a little self-serving. It is not the way to do it.
No.
Not the way to do it.
But I'd like for you, so right here, you're talking about the declining market.
Yeah.
Make that point, because I think that's a really important one to understand as a seller who's going to also be a buyer.
Well, if you're in a declining market in your neighborhood, and you might be, I mean, you literally could have a market that there's 3 months inventory, but you've got, 600 houses in your subdivision and you got 90 of them on the market. I'll guarantee you there's a price pressure. So in a declining market, do you want to get out now while you can still get X amount of money, or do you want to wait another 6 or 12 months where you get less X amount of money?
Right.
So especially if you're downsizing, let's say perhaps you've got a $650,000 house. It's worth $650 today. Realtor says you can get $650 today, but you've got a whole bunch of supply and not that much demand. I can't tell you this for sure, but generally what ends up happening is that people, to get more competitive, they start reducing prices. Mm-hmm. Not only those that are on the market, but the homes that are entering the market, they want to undercut because they want to move. They want to move on with life. And so prices are going to come down. So to sell now, you capture the higher number at $650, and then you go down, maybe even in your subdivision, to a 2-bedroom. You're in a 5. You go down to a 2-bedroom in your subdivision, and now you're paying $375. Well, you did a really good thing. You maxed out the value today, and now you've moved into a lower financial strata in the same kind of area, maybe the same neighborhood. You might have townhomes in your area. A lot of times in subdivisions, they'll have mixed use, right? Sometimes they'll even have commercial in there, maybe a strip area, that sort of thing. So that's what I would say. Look at it, because I don't know what's going to happen in 2026. Everybody says the rates are going to be great in 2026. Well, that's what they said about 2025.
Yeah.
The whole they thing. Oh, yeah, we're going to get a bunch of reductions. How many have we gotten this year? I think 0.
On the rate, yeah. Well, and that's an important thing, is that, a lot of times people will ask, well, when's a good time to sell? The best time to sell is when you are ready to sell. Trying to time the market can be
impossible.
A hot mess. So to Mark's point, though, where you are maybe selling your home in this situation where if your home is worth $650, you might look at it and go, yeah, but 3 years ago is worth $700 and I want $700. That's just not reality. But you're going to be taking that net benefit is going to work for you, because that $375 house that you're going to buy was maybe worth $500 when your house was worth $700. So the gap there, you're actually going to come out ahead, and it's a smart financial move. Mm-hmm. So,
and maybe you'll be free and clear now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have enough equity to be free and clear. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not stroking $2,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. So you really do. I mean, obviously everybody's situation is going to be different. What we just really want to encourage you there is that this is the question to ask yourself before you sell, and really kind of know not really what your house is worth, but where are you comfortable at? What net amount of money in your pocket are you comfortable? And as long as that adds up to where you want to be, then you should move forward. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at it like, this is my only asset, and if I cash this out right now, we're not going to have enough to make it through retirement, then maybe you do need to stay put.
Well, and I want to say this, for Americans, generally our wealth is tied up in our home. This is a very critical decision you're making. Mm-hmm. So weigh it very analytically and rationally. Obviously, we talked about the emotional side, but this could really impact you for years and years. So, and the other thing I will tell you too, downsizing always has benefits, mm-hmm. because you are decreasing your financial footprint and the pressure that you have on you. Maybe you've got some health issues, that sort of thing. Stress is bad. Mm-hmm. If you're stressed out about maintenance, you're stressed out about finances, you're stressed out about various things about your house. Maybe the roof's coming due here pretty quick. In 10 years or 5 years, I got to put a roof on it. The house is going to need to be painted in 5 years. But if I sell it today, I won't have to do that stuff. So you got to weigh all this stuff.
Well, or you're going to get asked to do it as part of the sale, and that can come out of your proceeds. So that's different.
Cost you either way,
That's a different story.
Cost you either way.
Okay, another question to ask yourself before you sell is, where are you going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Have you explored your options? What are your lifestyle goals? We kind of talked about that earlier. Mm-hmm. So understand what that is and have the right data before you sell. For example, if you live in California and your kids have moved to Texas, and so now you want to uproot yourself from California and move to Texas, have you even gone and looked at houses in the area that you want to be at? make that happen, because Zillow can only tell you so much. I mean, you can start looking into an area and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, these houses are beautiful. And then you get there and you realize like, oh, that's not really near what we want to be near, or it's too far from the kids, or whatever the case may be. As people who went through this, when we went to Texas and looked at a lot of houses online before we actually got there, once we got there, the reality of some of these different neighborhoods, we really were able to, okay, now we know what our goals are more refined. So I would just highly recommend that.
Yeah, we understood way more about Texas because, you know, the Texas market is less expensive, and it's crazy. Like you can see, like Dallas, for instance, like you can get like a mansion there for $500,000-$600,000. Maybe you can't today. Maybe it's $700,000-$800,000. But I remember looking at some of these big brick houses and the circle drives in front, and they're like $550,000. Well, there's something off here. And the off thing was property taxes are way higher. You know, on
property taxes are high,
way higher. And then the other thing that we experienced in Rockport, you know, we had to have 3 different insurance policies.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Taxes were high,
and insurance
on these weren't super expensive houses. Yeah, insurance was, you had to have homeowners insurance, flood insurance, wind, hail, that sort of thing. It's like, holy crap, this is a lot of money. And so look into that, okay? Look into that, please. If you're on the coast, you're going to have to deal with, insurance. Insurance is huge. That's some of the reasons why Tampa right now is getting its butt kicked for prices, because some people can't get insurance or it's astronomical.
I think it's really important that you understand not just the housing market or inventory prices, all that stuff, but all those ancillary things that go with it. What are insurances? What are local property taxes? In Texas, the benefit, they have the higher property tax, but they have no state income tax. Well, we could not take it as second homeowners. We couldn't take advantage of that perspective because we still pay our state income tax here in Arizona, where in Arizona, property tax is very low compared to other states in the union.
And mosquitoes will chase you down the street.
That literally happened to him. That was, what? I wish I had video of that.
The heck?
I might. I don't know.
Yeah, it was wild.
Well, and another question to ask yourself before you sell is where you are going. Can you purchase that without selling, before you sell this home? Or do you need to sell your current home in order to purchase? That can greatly affect your strategy, your timing, and a lot of different things. I will give you an example. Recently helped clients who were able to take out of their retirement and pay cash for the home that they were moving into so that they could get all that done. They could move out of their house before starting to market their house that they need to sell, so that it was easy to show. They didn't have to worry about, getting out of the house and keeping it clean and all that stuff. They could afford to do that. So when the house sold, they could put that back into their retirement fund that they took out of. It was a really good strategy for them. So that may be your situation. It may not. You may be in a situation where you're like, actually, we want to downsize and we're going to pay cash because the amount, we've lived in this house for 30 years, so we have quite a good bit of equity. We're going to just cash out, take that equity and pay cash for this next house. We don't have that cash laying around now, so we need to sell first. You should know what that is because it's going to affect your strategies.
Well, may I propose another counterpoint?
Oh, please do, kind sir.
You sell, you pull your equity out, and you go rent. You find a nice newer home, not going to have a lot of hassles. By the way, everything is the landlord's responsibility. You need to maintain it, mow the grass, keep it clean, that sort of thing, change the air filters and the light bulbs. Other than that, if the dishwasher goes on the blink, hi, Bill, you got a problem. And now you're renting. Your money's maybe, in the market doing something or whatever. Maybe you're seeing a market that you're not really sure what the real estate market is doing. So maybe you're trying to time the market. It's never a great idea.
Don't do that.
But it's potentially, it might work out. You never know. You got a 50-50 on the whole thing. And I'm just spitballing right now, but a lot of people are doing that. They're looking at, you're seeing all these for rent, single family detached homes coming out now. They're small, sort of little square little boxes and stuff, but they're new. There's no maintenance. They're lock-in leaves, and people are renting. It's what they're doing.
And it could be a really good strategy if you're not sure where you want to go. Maybe you have a sense of adventure and you're like, listen, or maybe you've got kids in all sorts of different states. So you're like, we don't know which one we want to settle down in. So you want to sell the house now, go rent something, to Mark's point, and then start checking out these different areas where the kids are at or what have you. So
it helps you delay the big decision.
Yeah, it does. And it puts you in a better position when it is time to make an offer and purchase another home. Now you've got that cash kind of, there, so you don't have to do a contingent purchase. So anyway, good stuff.
Generally, the marketplace is favorable to ownership because the costs of building a house go up every single year. It just is what it is. And so prices continue usually, if you look at the price trends over the last 60, 70 years, if you were to average it out, home prices go up about 5% a year. About 5%, that's all. Now, you may see these 20% shifts in 1 year, but when it's all said and done, when you take the ups and the downs, it's about 5%.
Yeah, over the course on average. Yep. Yeah. So, but it is true. Like right now, if you're looking at like, hey, I bought a house last year, I'm going to sell it this year, you're probably looking at a decrease in value, frankly. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about how downsizing is different in today's market.
Okay.
And I think the first point that I want to talk about is the fact that you may have a mortgage on your home right now that you're enjoying a 2.5% to 3% interest rate on because you either purchased when money was super cheap or you refinanced when money was super cheap. Mm-hmm. That is not the reality today. Today's rates are hanging around the 7% range at the moment, give or take.
Give or take.
And, and obviously talk to your lender, and it's always going to be specific to your personal situation, but that's just an overall. So you have to take that into consideration. If you have a home that you've got $300,000 mortgage on it with, 2.5%, and you sell out of that home, and now you have to purchase with another loan, your monthly payment's actually going to be more, not less.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you sell something and you have a $300,000 mortgage, you go buy something of similar value, your payment was $2,000. I'll guarantee you now it's $3,000.
Yeah.
Just because of interest rates. It's something like that. It's, higher or lower, but It'll be probably 30%, 35% higher than the existing amount that you were paying on the same amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
for a smaller amount.
Down the road, can you refi? You can. But I can't guarantee your rates are going to go down to 2.5%, 3% again. I can't guarantee that. We will
probably never see those rates again in our lifetime. We probably won't. That's just the reality. I mean, if we do, it's probably because we've had another major situation that's less than ideal. So,
that's true.
But, the difference between like a 7% and 5%, could we see it go down to 5%? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
So the point is, though, the other thing to say is that it's just something to be prepared for. Hopefully, with your situation, if you have equity in your home, then you're going to be able to have more cash to put down. And so maybe you can have a lower mortgage payment, whatever the case may be. You have to do what makes sense for your situation. Only you know what that is.
Yeah.
So you just have to take it all into consideration. There's a lot of moving pieces in that financial bucket for you to look at. It's not just about monthly rates. It's not just about interest rates and monthly payments.
Yes.
So, the other thing is, and you kind of already alluded to it, so we don't have to spend too much time on it, but new homes versus old homes. So one of the things that you kind of talked about is like in today's market, the newer homes, the technology used to build the newer homes is really significantly different than our home right now is 9 years old. Just the difference in our 9-year-old home versus what's going on today can be significant.
Yeah. So, probably the most recognizable part of it is lower utility bills. So most of the houses now are doing spray foam insulation. The underside of the roof inside the attic is spray foam. They're using another compound once it's all said and done where they put a kind of like a fog in them, and it takes up, it covers all the nooks and crannies. They also have clean air systems. So now, like, we have a house that has 4 filters. It's 1,850 square feet, but we have our second home in Clarkdale. It has 4 filters. It has an energy recovery ventilator, so it actually sucks the heat out of the air outside and it recovers that. It does a lot of kind of neat things. House stays cleaner. It's not as dusty inside because it's always scrubbing the air, that sort of thing. What else? Oh, and then just, Energy Star rated appliances. And here's the other thing. It's got a new roof. Doesn't need paint. Dual pane windows. They actually open. Wow. New countertops, new shaker, 42-inch cabinets.
Your flooring is nice.
Your flooring. The vinyl. Now the vinyl's all luxury vinyl. That's the new thing. All luxury vinyl. Looks awesome. Looks like wood. No maintenance. You have a little problem with the dog or the grandchild, not a problem.
Yeah, you drop a plate instead of on the tile where it shatters, you drop it on the LVP and it just sort of bounces.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. When you consider moving, look at new. Now, we're a little biased. I sold new homes for quite a while, and this is a brand new home when we bought it, and we're kind of like that whole thing. We're not opposed to older houses, absolutely not. Lived in a mid-century house in Scottsdale, so yeah, been there, done that, and refurbished a bunch of them. So get it, love them, but there's something about new that is kind of nice. I really do feel this thing where I'm like, I have to do nothing to this house. Put the backyard in, put some window covers on it, washer and dryer, and good to go.
So we just want you to know that is a good option for you to look at if part of your motivation for downsizing is that you're tired of doing maintenance. A new home is a really great option. Another great option is just looking at townhomes or condos, because now you're only really responsible for the interior maintenance. And for the most part, depending. You got to check with your CCNRs and know exactly, work with somebody who understands all that stuff. But for the most part, that exterior maintenance, the roof, the common area, paint, exterior paint, all of that is going to be covered. I mean, you're going to pay HOA dues for that, but the trade-off is you're not the one responsible for taking care of it. So anyway.
It's like you're prepaying for the exterior maintenance, but you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's true. So, here's the thing. You don't want to be that person who goes, yeah, we're really thinking about it, and then you wait for too long, and now you regret it because of whatever reason. I know for me personally, I worked with a couple, this was a long time ago, but I worked with a couple who they were empty nesters and they had a ton of stairs in their home. And they didn't worry about it because they said, hey, this keeps us young and we like having the forced exercise, if you will. So they didn't mind it. But then when it did come time to downsize, a couple of health issues, and now all of a sudden they were minding it. And so
it's a really good point, stairs.
Yeah. So it could be one of those situations where if stairs are starting to become an issue for you, it might be time to trade up and get a single level, or at least something where all your main living is on the main level. So you don't have to do stairs in order to go, to go to bed, to use your office, to be in the kitchen, all that kind of stuff. So I work with a lot of people.
That's a huge deal.
Especially in Flagstaff, because of our rocky terrain. It's hard to find a sprawling single level, whereas a lot of times you'll find all your main living on the main area, and then your ancillary bedrooms where, guest bedroom when the kids come, things like that.
100%. That's a really good consideration. Write that one down. I like that one. Yeah, because that's very, very true. I've had, people say, I can't do stairs. Many times, I can't do stairs, or I just don't want to do them. Like when I lived in Scottsdale and I had could buy a house and we weren't married, I remember I'm going to get a single level, because if I had to keep climbing these dang stairs, it's going to make me sweat in the middle of the summer when it's 112 degrees. Like, it's just too hot. Number one, second story is usually warmer, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I just don't want to deal with, when it's 112 degrees out there, it just feels hotter going upstairs. You got to climb.
There you go.
Exactly. It's not like I wasn't in shape and I couldn't do it. I don't know. Maybe just, ornery. about the stairs. I'm not sure what it was.
Yes.
Look at it. Look at this whole idea as an empty nester of just rearranging your living situation is kind of like a gear shifter on a car. Do you want to downshift to first, or you want to upshift to sixth? I mean, maybe sixth is down here. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I think you should always downshift to first if you're going slow and upshift to sixth if you're going fast.
All right. Well, that analogy works.
Okay. Anyway, I just think that one of the pieces of wisdom we would like to share with you, if you are considering downsizing, we just really wanted to have you think about it because there's so much more to it than just about price or square footage.
If you're thinking about downsizing, literally don't leave it to just to write it down. Write it down. Just make bullet points. I'm a big bullet point guy. I've got my phone and I got this thing called Notepad on it, and I will write down my stuff. And just if you're sitting down with a realtor, here's all the stuff that I considered. I saw the Empty Nester Life podcast. And so this is the stuff that they were talking about. And I took notes because there was a lot of good points in that podcast. And I want to talk to you. These are the things I want to talk to you about. And these are the things that you actually would talk to a realtor about. Mm-hmm. You talk to one another about this, but you talk to a realtor about a lot of these points because they can change your search, right, in the computer. And they can go through their mental inventory too, because realtors know what's out there. I know 2 houses I can take you to right now. Mm-hmm. And so these are all just really solid points, I think, not patting ourselves on the back, but solid points when you're talking about making a move, whether it's upsizing or downsizing, whatever it is. You're empty nester now, and you're going to make some of these decisions. You will make some of these decisions. You just will. Yeah. Or you'll consider these decisions.
Yep. And I also want to say that when you downsize, there are going to be some things that you didn't anticipate once you move into your space. Like, oh, I really miss having that big bathroom, vanity. Or I really miss my large kitchen where I could store all the things. And it may be an adjustment at first that you may think is a little less than ideal. But I promise you, you make the adjustment, and before you know it, this is how you live your life, and it's fine. And, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with people, and they're like, oh, but I really need this. Or you watch HGTV, and you would think everybody needs granite countertop this and island that, and I don't know. And you don't need all of that stuff. Do what works for you, and make sure you're happy with the overall, because the little things will fall into place.
We went through a whole bunch of points here, and there may be 2 that are just the driving factors. Mm-hmm. And generally, that's what it kind of comes down to. It's a couple of driving factors, and then the rest of it's sort of simple. Okay? Mm-hmm. We'd love to know, though, what are your driving factors? Like, are there 1 or 2 non-negotiables? Mm-hmm. And the rest of them, we can negotiate these. These are all, we can negotiate all these things aren't going to be a problem, but these are firm. And I think if you kind of approach it that way, I think you're going to be able to really transition in a really, really thoughtful way, knowing that this stuff isn't going to bug you. But make sure if this little stuff that doesn't seem inconsequential right now, did I say that right?
No, but that's okay. We know what you mean.
Anyway, not of much consequence. I try to correct
Don't
myself.
try to fix it. Just go.
Yeah.
Just roll.
Make sure you consider them very much, because this might be your last 1 or 2 moves.
Right.
Maybe you got 4 left, but maybe you'll only make another 1 or 2 moves, and then we go to the heaven, which is cool.
Our
It's
final
a good place to be.
Our final destination.
Final destination.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah.
Hey, I have enjoyed having this conversation.
It's been fun, right?
Today. Yeah, it has been fun.
Yeah.
And so, listen, we're here for you. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, leave them in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. Obviously, if you're listening to this on the other platforms that are audio only, best way to get in touch with us is you can go to emptynesterlifepodcast.com, and you'll find all sorts of different ways to, you poke around, and eventually you'll find a way to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
There's a contact form on there, all that good stuff. But we would welcome to hear from you. Obviously, if you are in Arizona, we can help you personally. But if you're in any other state, we're still open to taking your call if we can connect you with one of our colleagues in your area. We don't know people in every area, but good chances. I mean, this long in the industry, we might have somebody we can connect you with. So definitely feel free to reach out. We welcome that. We'll have some, if you're watching on YouTube, check the description box below. We'll have like a little link that you can fill out if you're interested in having a conversation about real estate. What else?
Well, we'd love you to subscribe.
Yes.
Hit that little subscription.
Yes.
You could hit the alert button, and of course, always hit the like button. It helps our analytics. It's great. We'd like to have more people listen to us. Hopefully, we bring value to your life and bring some value to other people's life by, like Jackie says, comment and like and do all that kind of stuff. It does bring value to other people because you can add your own perspective and shed some light on some of the things, maybe a mistake you made or made some really good decisions.
I like that. That's good. I like that a lot. And if you don't feel that we have brought you value,
let us know too.
You can tell us.
No value.
But if you feel like we haven't brought any value and you're still hanging on this late in the podcast, I would like to know why. So why have you hung out with us?
Why are you still here?
Why are you here if we're not bringing value?
We love you, though. We love you.
Maybe our value is just that you find us entertaining, or like our goofiness. You just roll your eyes and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they said whatever." We would love to hear about it.
You might be a redneck.
You might be. Oh, did you hear me? I tried.
Pretty good, actually. Pretty good. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think we can probably say sayonara.
We can wrap this episode up. We are Mark and Jackie Tate. Thank you for joining us on the Empty Nester Life podcast.